Hi, everyone. It's Ron Ruth with another installment of Ron Ruth Presents. Today, my guest is Rob Peters, and Rob and I are going to be talking about weekday money, which is a great way for, especially for DJs that aren't getting those weekends booked. This is a good way to get a little added income, or even if you are booking the weekends, it's a great way to get a little more money in the bank. But before we get too deep into the weeds of how Rob goes about doing this and the information he's going to share, Rob, first off, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
It's always a pleasure to talk to you. We've been friends for a very long time. Mm-hmm. I know a lot about you, but most of the people that are watching this show have absolutely no idea who Rob Peters is. So let's fill him in a little bit. Tell me about when you got into this business. What made you get into the DJ business, and when did that happen?
So I grew up in Boston, and I was the shy kid in high school, which...
I can't imagine that.
So I went to a small Catholic college up in Maine, right on Sebago Lake, and I was going to study communications, more television, and be behind the scenes. And they have at the time they had a radio curriculum, and they pair you up with an upperclassman. And I learned how to DJ just from hanging out with the upperclassmen, and got my break one day when the regular DJ on campus couldn't do it and recommended me for the job.
Oh, wow. I
had no music. The college owned the equipment, and I raided the radio station. I went to the upperclassmen and grabbed a couple of records that I knew were going to work. And I discovered two things at the end of that first show, and that is I came out of my show pretty quick, and I made money, and I met girls. It was pretty cool from there. After that, after my freshman year, I did radio for a little bit.
Right.
While I was getting my degree, I was supposed to stay in Maine, and circumstances when I graduated brought me back to Boston. I gave up DJing. I really wasn't going to do anything anymore. And I was dating a girl, and she asked me to DJ a party for her sister. And I thought it was love. So I did it, and I had a packed dance floor, and people were coming up and saying, "You're great. Do you have a business card?" Now, Ron, in the 4 years I was up at St. Joe's up in Maine, I didn't need one. I didn't know what a business card. I'm like, a business card?
I'm
grabbing napkins from the bar, and I'm writing my name and phone number down on napkins and handing them to people at the end of the show. That one show, she dumped me, by the way, like the next week. And the next thing you know, I'm getting phone calls to DJ events. And I got my break from working with a colleague at an agency and basically shadowing him on how to do weddings. And I did weddings for his agency for a little bit as well as for myself. And things really took off from there. At that time, I was part-time.
Right.
So I was working... in the beginning, I was working at a record store, which was convenient for me. I was getting my music pretty cheap. And then I moved to a higher paying position doing mutual fund transfer agency. Basically, it's a big fancy word for if you have a mutual fund and you wanted to sell it, you called me and I processed it over the phone for you.
I get it. Yeah.
In 1998, I left my day job. I took a leap of faith. John Allo, who was in my market at the time, John has since passed, but John had always been somebody I looked up to. John said to me, "You can do this." I didn't really have enough faith in myself. And then one day I blew a deal on a corporate. I'd forgotten to send a proposal out, and I lost an account.
Oh, no.
That was a pretty marquee account at the time. And I remember beating myself up so much when I went to lunch that day that when I came back from lunch, I actually sat down at my computer, processed some work, and on my 15-minute break in the afternoon, I wrote my letter of resignation and put it on my boss's desk. And I took that leap of faith and went full-time. And from there, I've developed Rob Peters Entertainment. I went to work for another agency for a couple of years. We sold our company, and because we're doing 35% of their DJ work anyway, so it made sense for us to work for them.
Right.
I wasn't really a big fan of that. I was missing the personal attention my clients usually got. So 2002, I rebranded as Rob Peters Entertainment, and I've taken it off ever since and having a lot of fun doing it and taking the company in a lot of different directions, which is really cool.
So when did all of this begin? I mean, maybe you mentioned it, but
1987.
87. So what is that? You've been doing this now for
33 years.
33 years?
Yep.
Holy moly, good for you.
I know I don't look more than 35, so I started when I was 2. But
I was going to say 30, but okay, if you want to go 35, that's fine.
Well, I'll take that.
So you have Rob Peters Entertainment, but you also have another business as well. You're kind of like split personality here. Talk about your other business also.
I don't consider them businesses so much as I consider them brands for the special services we offer. Think Coca-Cola for a minute. If you ever worked retail, the Coca-Cola truck has Coke, Diet Coke, Sprite, the root beer brand, and Fanta.
Right.
But if you only got Fanta off of that Coke truck as a retailer, you still wrote the check to Coca-Cola. And that's how I set up my company. So we have Rob Peters Entertainment, which covers the whole realm of what we do. But we also have the Bubble Music Man, which is our kids entertainment division. I'm actually also a bubbleologist. I actually do
a bubbleologist?
And yep, I had to come up with a fancy title because a bubble DJ just didn't make sense. And it started out, and again, John Allo was really influential in my career as being not only a mentor, but he came up with this idea of doing daycare centers and doing kids dance parties with bubbles. And he developed what was called a bubble party. And when he got really sick in the mid-90s, he actually called me and asked me to take his program over.
Wow.
And I considered it a very big compliment. As intimidating as it was, I took it over. And I go to daycares in the warmer climate. I mean, it's a little brisk up here in Boston this week. But we go out and we do a bubble dance party for kids, and we bring a couple of bubble machines. We play kid-friendly music, and we do some tricks and activities with the kids involving bubbles for about an hour. And it's been a really successful thing for my company because nobody else is doing it in my area, number one. And number two, it's something different in an untapped market that most DJs don't look at. So it's taken off in that regard. I do probably about 100 to 150 daycares in the summertime during the week. So this is, Monday morning, I'm at a daycare at 9:30, 10 o'clock. I'm doing an hour. And I'm back in my office at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And if it's my day off, I'm not in the office. I'm going to the movies, or I'm going to the beach, or I'm doing something for me. And it's been a great resource. When I took over for John, we were doing like 20 centers. And now I have several people that work for me. We do, on average, about 250 centers every summer.
Wow, that's phenomenal. Yeah, so let's dive into this a little bit deeper, and I don't want you to give away too many of your secrets. But first off, it basically just is it a special type bubble machine, or are you just using regular bubble machines for these events?
The regular stuff you get from American DJ. And
okay, all right. So it's not like a foam machine or anything that you have to have. Okay. So. Let's talk a little bit about, so let's start with the beginning. How do you market to these daycare centers?
We do a lot of direct mail. We deal with a lot of direct mail. I actually have and John wrote this after he handed the program over to me. He wrote a business plan that I actually make available to DJs, and we have a program set up. But we find that spam sucks. I just got to say it. Spam is one of those things, especially you don't want to be the creepy guy spamming the daycare center.
Right.
So we use I use a combination of direct mail and a lot of guerrilla marketing techniques to get our foot in the door. A lot of this business, though, is repeat business.
Right. So once you're in the door,
my clients from last year are back this year already.
Right. So once you're in the door, it's a matter of keeping those customers, doing whatever is necessary to keep those, and also to, if possible, exceed expectations so that they're referring you. Do you get many referrals from one daycare to another?
We do, because it's a community. The daycare community, they all talk. So if you're good, they're going to call you up.
Wow.
And they're going to pass your name along. And then you also get, and this happens more often than not, we'll do a performance on Monday or Tuesday, and we'll get a phone call from a frantic mom on a Wednesday or a Thursday going, "You were at Jimmy's daycare the other day. Mm-hmm. Is there any chance you're available this weekend, because he will not stop talking about you. He's insisting to have you this Saturday at his birthday party."
Oh my goodness.
That happens every other week. And I'm not just doing these shows. We do a bunch of other, I'm doing weddings on the weekends. We're doing other stuff.
Right.
So in a lot of cases, it's, you should have called us earlier. We maybe can squeeze one or two of those a year. But it's a pretty cool program. But the marketing is the hardest part, just because of the fact you look at today's society, one wrong move when it comes to kids, and you're the creepy guy.
Yeah, that's true. You know what? I didn't even think about that. Yeah, it's the way things have gone over the past few years. That, a lot of stuff that, you didn't think about before, you have to be very cognizant of it today. So you spoke, okay, so you said that this is, you typically do an hour show. Now, is this by your choosing, or is this typically what if I were, let me rephrase the question. If I were a daycare and I came to you and I said, "Rob, I want you to do a 3-hour thing for our kids," would you?
The kids won't last. The kids have very limited personalities, and we find an hour, maybe 90 minutes, but it also depends on the size of the group. I've had instances where I've been at a daycare for 3 hours, and they had so many kids coming through that I was doing 45-minute shows with a 15-minute break in between. So it can be done, but we find that the attention spans with kids, we jam-pack an hour.
Even my attention span is like very short. Yeah.
No, and with the kids especially the younger, they last, like, you'll be in the middle of doing head, shoulders, knees, and toes, and they'll be standing next to the bubble machine pointing, going, "Bubbles, bubbles, bubbles."
Squirrel.
The bubble machine back on. And exactly. So for me, I find that an hour, and John set it up as an hour originally, so I try to hold true to that. And I find that my clients, they feel an hour is a pretty good fit.
So how would you, and again, I don't want you to give away too many secrets here, but, give away as many secrets as you can. Let's put it that way. So How would you program that hour? What are you doing in that hour? I heard you talking about head. I haven't played that in so long, I've forgotten how it goes. But
listen, every week.
You wake up in your sleep doing head, shoulders, knees, and toes?
So during the story I share is, if you talk to any of my wedding clients during bubble season, it's funny, because we'll be in that bridal appointment, 3 or 4 weeks before the wedding, and we'll be going through stuff. We'll talk about music, and we'll talk about, okay, you want 80s, you want 90s, you want this, you want that. And then I'll talk about, well, what about the interactives? Because I always want to know, can we do some? And they'll always say, not the chicken dance. And I'll look right at them and go, thank God. And then I explain to them, I have to do it every day when I'm out at these schools. It's a combination, Ron, of kid-friendly music and some interactives in between. So we're doing interactives like head, shoulders, knees, and toes, and the stuff the kids know to get them and give them movement.
Right.
We're even doing like limbo. So it's a pretty cool program we jam-pack into an hour. I do some bubble tricks, if you will. I have a series of bubble wands and bubble toys that we bring along. And I actually do a little bit of a show where I show different tricks and things you can do with bubbles that the kids are just like totally, I have them literally in the palm of my hand for part of that show, showing them this stuff. And then the best compliment, I guess you could say, is we surround that with the kid-friendly music and the interactivity. At the end of the show, you're high-fiving the kids, and they're absolutely loving you. And the hour goes by like that. Like, I remember the first show, John said to me, he said, "You're going to be amazed at how quick the show goes." And I got there, and I remember I had such anxiety that hour before I got started.
Right.
And I was looking at my watch going, okay, it's 9:42. Okay, it's 9:43, and it felt like 20 minutes. And
Right.
at the end of the show, I'm looking at, I'm going, we're done. That's it. And it went by really, really quick. And the next thing you know, it's you're wrapping up and you're high-fiving the kids, but you become a celebrity. There's a couple of stories I tell about this. The first one is when I pull up at certain centers. They look out the window and they see me pulling up because I'm not hard to miss. I'm pulling up in a bright fluorescent Hawaiian shirt.
Okay.
So they see you pull up. Excuse me. The next thing you know, they're all chanting, Bubble Man. But like they're dying to have, and I haven't taken anything out of the truck. I haven't even gone in to let the manager know I'm there. But the funniest story I can tell about this and about how this has grown for my business is when Patriot Place over at Gillette Stadium, where the Patriots play. You knew I had to throw that in there, right?
Yeah, well, yeah.
When they first opened, they hired us as a traffic builder on Fridays. So every Friday, you could bring your kids to Patriot Place and come have fun with the Bubble Man, and we'll do a bubble show. And it was great. We ran about 2 years over there, which was really, really cool. I did a show one day, and I had just started dating the woman who's now my fiance, and she lived the next town over. At the time, I lived a little bit further away. And I was going to her house after the show. We were going to have a nice romantic dinner, so I was going to cook. I packed up and went to the nearest Stop and Shop, and sure enough, I ran into a mom and her 2 kids who were at the show. Now, I'm still in Hawaiian shirt, pair of shorts, and I'm walking in, and the older of the 2 children had to have been about 4 or 5 and was just like, oh, my God, the Bubble Man's here. And he was so, I guess the best way to put it, starstruck is the best way to put it. And he's screaming at his mother, Mommy, look, the Bubble Man. And I walked over. And, of course, at that point, what am I supposed to do? I can't just walk by and be like, yeah. So I engaged the kids a little bit. I talked to the mom a little bit. She asked for a card. I gave her a card. And I finished our conversation, or so I thought, and went in a Stop and Shop to go buy groceries to cook dinner.
Right.
Pick up a cart, start looking at my list, start walking around. And at the end of each aisle, I'm seeing this little boy, 5-year-old boy, checking me out. And I'm like, okay, I'm not really going to read too much into it. So I'm starting to put stuff in my cart. And I grabbed chicken because I was making chicken parm or something. And Mommy, he's picking up chicken. He's screaming this at the top of his lungs throughout the store. I went down the cereal aisle to grab breakfast stuff. Mama, he's buying Cheerios. He's got the Cheerios we have. This kid followed me up and down every aisle of the supermarket for about an hour, believe it or not, screaming out everything that I had in my cart. I was kind of thankful I didn't have to get anything that would have been embarrassing for me. You know? So I walk up front. And the mom picks up the kid. Now, mom's a little upset at this point because Billy would not stay with mom. He was insisting that he follow me around the store. And I walk up to the all the cashiers are laughing. Like, they heard this kid the whole store. And I'm starting to put stuff on the conveyor belt. And the cashier looks at me and says, so, you're the Bubble Man. I say, yeah, what do I owe? She says, I haven't scanned anything yet. I said, you heard what I got? That kid told you. The whole store knew who I was. And it really made me realize that when it comes to kids, if you're really good at what you do, you get that celebrity mentality. But it's also something you kind of have to watch on the other end. Like going out with my family or going out with the guys, I can't be in a Hawaiian shirt and a pair of shorts. I have to dress a little bit differently and wear a hat if I'm in a family restaurant and standing at the bar because it's one of those things. So it's been a very interesting ride, but it's been a great way to fill my weekdays.
So I love that story. That's a good, Mommy, he's getting chicken. Oh, so I'm curious. We for daycares, we're talking an age group of what? 3 to 5, 3 to 6. Okay. So
daycares are about 3 to 6, so we do overlap, and we do get some school stuff in there too. So we get kindergarten and first grade.
And I'm guessing you have to have the patience of a rock. Maybe?
Mm-hmm.
Yes? Yeah. Okay.
You do. It's funny because when we talk about the program and I talk to DJs, I interview everybody who expresses an interest in becoming what we call a provider. And I say to them, the first thing I say to them is, if you're in this for just the money, you're going to be really disappointed.
Right.
You have to have a tolerance for kids. Now, I don't have any kids of my own. I'm very blessed that I have an awesome fiance, and I came into the picture when Madison, her daughter, was 4. So I've had the opportunity to watch her, over the past 10 years become a very beautiful young lady. And I feel like that I kind of cut my teeth a little bit in this whole thing at the right time with her, because of the fact that I could practice some of the stuff I did on her and some of her friends. So I had a pretty cool audience then. Now, not so much.
So have you tried, okay, well, I got a couple of questions. I'm not sure which order to ask them. And I'll just start with this one. Okay, so I kept hearing you talk about we when you're doing these parties. How many people do you take with you to do these events?
When I say we, it's usually me. Sometimes I bring some backup staff.
Okay.
Or if it's a big crowd, as I said, I'm a multi-op. So I have 5 people that do these shows for me. And on the bigger crowds, I do bring another performer because it is a lot of work.
Right.
But when I say we, I talk about us as a company because I feel like the success I've had here at RPE on every level isn't just me. It's been my staff, which has been really awesome.
So it's not just you out there doing these bubble parties, and you have 5 or 6 people, so you can do more than one bubble party in a day, right?
Right.
Okay, cool.
I actually average most summers, and it's funny because because I'm the owner of the business and I have all that other responsibility,
right.
I actually now have this year finally got to a point where I said I'm setting a schedule, meaning on Tuesdays, I'll take 2 or 3 bubble parties a day. On Thursdays, I'll take 2 or 3 bubble parties a day. But on Mondays is now my official day off where I really don't do anything. And Wednesdays and Fridays, I restrict how many I'll take. The demand's there. And even though we keep going up on our rate, we have a good attrition rate, meaning those clients are coming back over and over and over again.
Right.
But I need that balance. Like, I can't, when I get in the car at the end of doing 2 or 3 shows on a Tuesday, people joke and they go, "Oh, what do you listen to on the way home? The Disney Channel?" No, I don't listen to the Disney Channel. I listen to sports talk radio or something that doesn't involve having to do the limbo or head, shoulders, knees, and toes, or if you're happy and you know it. But yeah, it's when I say we, it's a company effort around here, and that's how I've built. I mean, I started RPE as just me, and I've discovered that because I've trained a lot of great people, and because I see the value in having such a good team work with me, it's worked to my advantage.
Okay, so I have one more question on this, and we're going to move on to other things. We're talking about weekday money. Actually, I got 2 more things. So first one is that 3 years old is about the minimum, right? Nothing younger than 3, because obviously
we occasionally get, like, we'll go to a daycare and they'll say, "Well, we want to do something with the toddlers." Okay. And my philosophy on toddlers has always been they will last about 15, 20 minutes and then they're done.
Yeah.
So we'll do a special show just for them for about 20 minutes. Maybe 25. But usually 3 years old, they're at a good level mentally to follow and intelligently to follow some engagement and some simple steps and doing certain instructions. Plus, they tend to have a little bit more of a good attention span.
Yeah, we talked a little bit before we went on. I was telling you about a friend I know in Chicago, a guy I know in Chicago that he does like 1-year-old birthday parties. And you and I were talking about how difficult that is because I don't get how you do it. Obviously, a 1-year-old birthday party is not about the kid. It's about mom. Yeah, it's about mom doing. Hey, look what we did for our child. Because, like we talked, you can't. A 1-year-old can't even walk. Yeah, I mean, not really well anyway. So you're having real issues of trying to get them involved in much of anything. I would imagine it'd be just like trying to do the toddlers at a daycare. The takeaways, though, that from what I'm hearing from here is that if you do this right, you're going to get a lot of return business out of it. That is a huge takeaway. And so your marketing has to be, you don't want, as you said, you don't want to be the creepy guy or creepy girl even. I mean, because this isn't just a guy thing, but you don't want to be the creepy guy or creepy girl. So you're going to have to work on your marketing so that it doesn't come across as being the same DJ, a club DJ trying to play with children. You're going to have to work really hard on that marketing. The other thing about this, the other big takeaway here that I heard you talking about, and that is the people that come to you after the fact and say, hey, can you do Johnny's 5-year-old birthday party or Sally's 5-year-old birthday party because we saw you doing this thing at this. There's extra money to be made even there if you have the staff or if you have an off weekend. So,
right.
I can see where somebody could really take advantage of this in their market. Also heard you talking a little bit, and I listened for keywords, and one of the keywords I heard you talking about is provider. Is this a franchise for you?
We don't call it a franchise.
Okay.
Because in my opinion, well, a couple of different things. I've learned, like you, I've learned a lot about DJs over our time in the industry.
There's something to learn about DJs?
I know, right? John developed a business plan, and that's where it started. And when John passed away in 2007,
right,
his wife called me after the services a few weeks later, and I had been the liaison between the DJ industry and the family because Patty didn't really know a lot of the people in the industry that John talked to. And she called me in and she said, listen, it would only be right, and John said that he wanted you to continue to distribute this program. And it was a business plan. It was a book that you could buy, and then John had a website where you could keep your listing there, and we tweaked it out a little bit, and it was a national directory of guys who bought the program and bought the plan and did these shows. A few years after that, I discovered that I was doing a lot of extra stuff to help DJs get themselves off the ground with this program. And I decided that instead of just doing it, why not make it so that it's part of that whole thing? So what I came up with, it looks like a franchise on paper, Ron, but when it comes down to it is we've developed a business program that DJs can buy, and it gives them everything from the marketing and sample marketing and access to graphics and a templated website. Because the one thing with kids is when you take a picture of a child and you use it, you have to, obviously, any kind of photograph you're using for business or marketing purposes, you need to sign a release. When it comes to kids, you have to have the parents sign that release.
Right.
And that is something that, again, you don't want to be that creepy guy. So I went and did all this extra work and took the program beyond. This program, believe it or not, got me one of my big accounts back in, it was actually 2012. We got a big account working for a AAA league baseball team, doing on-field promotions and different things throughout the games and at the park.
Right.
It was a $50,000 contract for us for an entire summer. So, getting back to what you were asking, we bring in different. DJs come to me and they get involved with the program, and they get my coaching and everything else. So.
Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to turn this into a hook, so that for anybody that's watching, if you want to know more about how you can get your hand, because that sounds to me like the easiest way to do it is get a turnkey program. I mean, because you're bringing up things that if I were going to do this today myself, somebody would have to probably remind me that if I'm going to use pictures of kids, I got to make sure that I have releases. I mean, there's so many little things that could be liabilities in here that you've already done the homework on and taken care of.
I've done everything, and it's all been the people who come into this program, Ron. get the benefit of my experience. So they're not going to make the same mistakes that in some cases, I did make some mistakes.
Okay, so here's what we're going to do.
Nothing major because I'm not in jail, so that's a good thing.
So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to give you, at the end of this recording, at the end of this show, you will get, I will have Rob reveal how you can get a hold of him to get this package, but you're going to have to watch till the end because we still
got to wait till the end because we got more to give.
We have more stuff to talk about, and unfortunately, we're already running out of time. It's a sad thing about doing these shows is it's not like a day-long program. So here's the thing. So let's move on to other areas. I know that you do corporate events. You also do. Is it nursing homes or assisted living? What do you? Which is
we call that the senior community is
senior
where
community.
we'll go with that because it does vary on the event. So I do a lot of corporate events.
Okay.
I do a lot of team building kind of things. We own 3 or 4 game shows, so we're doing a lot of game show stuff right now as team building activities for companies, which has been huge for us. During the holiday season, we worked from the 1st until the 21st of December. And we had I had a show every day.
Doing the game shows? Or
entertaining. So This is where I'm going with that.
So for the sake of time, let's do this. Because again, this is fast. We're going to break this down into 2 shows. For the sake of time, what is the most popular daytime show that you do? What is that one that, man, there's no way I'd ever give this up? What is it?
I gotta be honest with you. There's two of them. If I
all right, let's do both of them.
The first one is team building with corporate.
Okay.
Because that's the last thing I did when I left my day job in 1998.
Okay.
They had advanced me into training, and that's what I was doing. The second one is, and we alluded to this, working with the senior community. We go out and we do music bingo and trivia and things like that. We do a lot of trivia-based stuff. But that community is just so great to work with. And it's been a lot of fun because my parents, who are now in that age group on the younger side, taught me a lot about the music that I'm using with this group. So I can relate a little bit more because I have parents that are about that age. So it's been a lot of fun. But those are like the 2 big things I'm doing during the day right now.
So let's deep dive into both of those just a little bit and talk about. Let's start with the senior community because that sounds like something I could do.
You could.
Yeah. See, there you go.
You know what? You don't have to be, I guess, advanced in our industry. I guess I don't want to say old because I'm there too. I hit 50 last October. As long as you can relate to them and be fun with them, and they're not high energy gigs. That's like the best thing. Is they're not high energy events. They're very relaxed people. So they like to hear the music they know, and playing music bingo. It's named that tune in a bingo format. So we're playing, Rock Around the Clock. And they're singing along and dancing in their seats and everything as they mark off their bingo cards.
So let's talk about that for a minute because I'm fascinated. I've never heard of this music bingo before. So is the bingo card then is set up so that instead of having numbers, it has song titles?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And then you just play the song, and then they have to take their dauber and they mark it accordingly.
We actually make the cards. DigiGames got a really cool. There's a couple of other ones out there, but we use the DigiGames product, which is really cool. We make a card, we laminate the card, and we use dry erase markers to let them mark.
That way you can reuse, yeah.
And they absolutely, in most cases, it's funny because I'm still making my way in the marketplace right now because not a lot. It's popular in bars too, but different music. The nice thing is when you go in there and you're playing music and you're talking, this was the #1 hit this week in 1957. It's Chubby Checker and the Twist. And they're all moving their hips and singing along and marking off their daubers and everything. And you're adding a little bit of insight. The big joke, and I throw a little comedy in there too. Like I tell them their prize is a Toys R Us gift card, even though Toys R Us is bankrupt. And they all get a laugh out of it and they have some fun. It takes all of the other stuff they deal with living in that community. And in some cases, that community can sometimes be a little bit difficult. You're dealing with people who are in those, they're in independent living facilities or over 55 communities because they married their childhood sweetheart and they're no longer here anymore. So the fact that you can take them out of their room or out of their place for a little bit and bring them down to hang out with other people and be social and have a little bit of fun for an hour. I got to be honest with you. I'm kind of glad I'm doing it because I'm watching my parents and I'm going, you know, I would like to know that if I ever left this industry, there'd be somebody that could go do this.
Yeah, and I've noticed more and more DJs are actually getting involved in doing especially with the game shows, doing the elderly, the senior, as you call it, the senior clientele. So a couple of quick questions on this. Okay, so like the daycare, is this like an hour-long event?
We do an hour to 90 minutes with that group.
Okay.
Because the way we figure it, it's about 4 games an hour.
Okay.
And in some cases, they might need us to come in a little bit early. I do one that they actually get, my entire show is sponsored. This past time it was sponsored by one of those like Life Alert companies that they have phone I can't get up people. And they had me come in early because they actually sponsored lunch. So I came in before lunch, I set up, I played music, and the Life Alert people paid me for my time to play music and then run bingo for an hour. And they actually also gave prizes for me to give away as part of the bingo. So it was a pretty
it was going to be another question is what do you do with prizes? Now, did this company seek you out or did you actually go out and find the sponsorship on your own?
Actually, the Council on Aging hired me, and then they brought in the company and offered them the sponsorship.
But again,
because they wanted the program. One of the things about this whole community is it depends who you deal with. Independent living facilities, over 55 communities, they have budgets and they have activity budgets. So when you deal with a municipality's Council on Aging, they don't get the kind of money that you would get at an over 55 community or an independent living community. So when you go into that area, it's, we're charging $195 and we're finding that they're saying, well, our ceiling is this much. And what we do at that point is we do some creative marketing. And this is a great tip, is if you're in that kind of an environment, find a town next to them and find out if they'd be interested in splitting the day. Meaning, instead of doing the $195, doing 2 shows for $150 and having to travel 10 minutes down the road, I'd do that all day long.
But back to my original, my other question though, is did you reach out to the Council of the Aging or did they reach out to you? Okay, all right. So
I do a lot of marketing directly with the actual client, meaning the Council on Aging or the independent living facility. As far as them bringing sponsors in, my philosophy is real simple. As long as the check has my name, it's for the right amount and it's signed and I can go to the bank and cash it. If your sponsor is whoever, I'm going to talk about your sponsor and make it sound good.
That's a great idea, Rob. That's a tremendous takeaway. I mean, because again, you're talking about businesses that are facilities that may be out of their budget for you to come in and do your thing. But if you can find somebody to sponsor it, especially someone that caters to that age group, that's just phenomenal. So, and I know from my mom having been in an assisted care living venue that they have activity directors too. So, I mean, you can always reach out to them and maybe depending on if you're nice about it and the way you talk to them, you might be able to find out, okay, what are some places we can go to maybe get sponsorship to help get us in there to help you bring some joy to your clientele, because I think that's fascinating to me. So on average, I mean, do you do like a number of these a year? Is this I may have actually, I think now that I think back,
it's funny because I've only been doing these shows for about 2 years, so I maybe do 1 or 2 a month.
Okay.
It's not like the bubbles where I'm out every day. Corporate, on the other hand, corporate is almost weekly for the next at least month and a half, which I'm pretty psyched about.
And I'm going to give the viewers an opportunity to kind of think, well, that was a stupid question, because I'm going to ask what may be a stupid question. So is it only the trivia games that you play with them, or do you actually do physical activities with them at all? Like, can you do a hula hoop, or do you just keep it strictly with the trivia games?
With the seniors?
Yes.
I find I've never really approached it and asked them to do anything physical, partly because of the fact that I would really feel bad being the guy that, had somebody fall on the floor and break their hip.
Absolutely. Another liability to consider. And another
I do encourage them. I will say this, that I do have crowds that I go to, and I have a couple of accounts that I go to every other month, where as I play music, they'll get up and start dancing, and I let them do it on their own. As long as I'm not provoking it, I feel comfortable with it. But I think asking them to do something physical in a hula hoop contest, the last thing I want, I would be totally just like not even myself if I was the cause of somebody going to the hospital.
Right.
Like you, I've had that incident where somebody passed away in the middle of an event, and it's not a good feeling.
Let's not go down that road. And as I said, that gives people watching an opportunity to go, God, that was a stupid question. But it would be what would be kind of fun. I think it would be kind of fun. Those Nerf balls you can get like this. Wouldn't it be cool to divide up a bunch of 80-year-olds on both two sides of the room and have a dodgeball contest with Nerf balls?
Have a dodgeball contest
with Nerf balls.
That would be pretty fun.
Watching an 85-year-old man jump out in front of and save people from getting hit. I don't know. There are some centers I go to. Pardon me?
There are some centers I go to that would actually be a great way to break some tension. And you get to know some people after a while, and you get to know who doesn't get along with who when you go to the same place every other month.
Right.
It's funny because there are certain people who the activity director at one of my accounts has to sit Thelma over here and Louise on the other end of the room because they just don't get along.
Oh yeah. Oh,
and they literally get their jollies getting the other one. It's like Grumpy Old Men, the movie. They literally take pride in getting the other one upset, and I'm going, what are you doing? This is just about playing some music and playing bingo. I winning a Walgreens gift card,
I can relate just from remembering my mom in one of those venues, because I'd hear the stories about, the two people that didn't get along. Okay, so the other one that we were talking about was the team building, I think, was correct?
Yes.
Okay, I got so involved in the seniors, I forgot all about the team building. So let's go back to the team building. So tell me a little bit more about how you deal with the team building, or how you're managing the team building events. How do you market? What are you doing?
Team building with corporate is a very big buzzword, first of all.
Okay.
So if you're going to go and start trying to do team building, you need to have something. You need to have that understanding, first of all, that team building is designed to take a group of people that normally don't work in the same space,
right,
or the same building in some cases, and getting them to accomplish something together.
Okay.
So you think about all those games we've learned over the years for bar and bat mitzvahs and all that other stuff, relay games and that kind of thing. Those are a pretty good start. But after a while, you got to remember, you're dealing with professional people, and they don't want to take a drinking straw and push a marshmallow across the floor, or they don't want to take remote control cars and weave them in and out of cones. They want something and need something where they're communicating a lot more. So I do a lot of networking with team building. I go to probably at least 6 networking events a month.
Wow.
And that's a combination of my local NACE chapter. I'm a member of the local Visitors and Convention Bureau. Mm-hmm. And the rest of that is made up of going to Chamber of Commerce networking events or different networking groups that I've stumbled upon over the years, and basically going in there and introducing myself and getting to know other people, because that's what networking is, first of all. It's not about getting the business. It's getting to know other people in an effort of making them comfortable enough that they want to work with you or refer business to you, and vice versa. That's what we do with the team building. Is we do a ton of networking. We do direct mail around the holidays. We do some business to business shows here and there, and we used to host our own business after hours where we showed all this off. We took a year or two off because we've been so busy with all of our projects that to put together a night where we hosted that was a little difficult, but it's on our plans for this year. And we actually showcased doing team building. We would do Battle of the Banks. We had 5 or 6 banks that would show up and they would bring 10 people each. Partly because of the fact that I was giving away pretty cool door prizes. Bankers will show up for anything. And we did Battle of the Banks one year where we actually made them do some really crazy stuff, but you have to have some really good games where they're communicating and putting stuff together. A very simple one is, I do Play-Doh Pictionary, where one person on the team is the molder and they have a can of Play-Doh and they have to make, for example, a piano. And they're sitting there shaping Play-Doh in the shape of a piano. You got all these other people going, it's a table, it's a this, it's a chair, it's a car, it's this. And it's funny to watch them try to work together to come up with that solution, but it's also funny to watch what some of the sculptures look like. I got to tell you, you hear that you have to be politically correct in the corporate world, and you do. But what some people do at some of these corporate events, I just kind of scratch my head and go, yeah, that'd be a fun place to work. but it is fun.
So the way you market is a lot more hands-on than it is in just sending out stuff. You're actually doing a lot of networking and rubbing elbows and how do they do something?
Shaking hands and kissing babies.
There you go.
Actually, I built our PE that way. I don't mind doing direct marketing, but I find it more effective if I go out and I'm myself and I'm,
right.
Wacky Rob, or, I'm Fun Rob, and I'm at a networking event and I'm talking to people. I do a whole seminar on networking that I'm actually going to be rolling out for the industry at some point later this year.
Awesome.
If you're on, be on, but don't make it about you.
Right.
I meet you for the first time. In my opinion, I want to know what you do before I start talking about what I do.
I learned a trick, and by the way, since it kind of ties into this, you and I were talking about. I have a friend also that lives in Boston. His name is Matt Ward, and he wrote a book called "Get More Word of Mouth Referrals," and he talks a lot about being. When you're at these networking events, he actually kind of gives you a play-by-play. How do you deal with the networking event so that you're not making it all about you, but you're still getting the information and the context that you need? So for those of you watching, if you want some help with networking, because networking for a lot of people is pretty difficult. I know it was a challenge for me when I first started doing it, and sometimes it still is. But he also turned me on to another great idea when it comes to, you were talking about finding networking events. One of the things that he turned me on to was go to Eventbrite, and you can do a search in filters, and you can find all of the free networking events that are happening around you. You don't even have to pay for a lot of them.
Exactly.
And there's some networking events that take place that are part of, I don't know, they're out there every month. The same group of people are out there every month. So that's something that I'm starting to work on now with my new business. So anyway, for those of you that are wondering, well, I'm not a member of the chamber. That's fine. Go to Eventbrite and do a search for networking events. Again, you can use the filters, and that will help you. So, Rob, this has been a lot.
Chamber, just to throw this in there, Ron, Chamber of Commerce events will let you come to their networking events as a non-member. You might have to pay a little bit.
Yeah.
But I find, and it's funny because at one point in time, I was a member of 4 different chambers of commerce.
Right.
And I actually cut it down because it was taking way too much time for me to try and be at one and not the other. But it's also something that's a constant,
And you can do BNI
as much as possible.
BNI is another, but that's a paid membership to be a part of that. Then most major markets have a similar. I've never actually been a member of BNI, but I know a lot of people that are, and that they're really happy being members of those groups as well. So, and actually, I'm speaking to a group on Friday morning. which depending on when you watch this, you won't really care as much. I'm speaking to a group in a couple of days, let's put it that way, that's a part of a group called Kansas City Sales Pros. And they have a morning breakfast, a third Friday breakfast, and they always invite somebody in to speak. So I'm going to be speaking to that little group. So, there's potential there for consulting business or doing some other things. So anytime you can get in front of people that it can be a benefit to you, get in front of them. But again, don't make it all about you. So, Rob, this has been an awesome. We're not going to just make this one show. We're going to have to make it a two-parter at some point. We'll have to get back.
Keep going.
Yeah, because I learned all sorts of cool stuff today. But as I promised, let's do a couple things before we get to the hook. So, sure. You have what are your websites?
The main one you want to go to where you can find just about everything is robpetersentertainment.com.
Okay.
It's actually got a brand new look. I'm very proud of our new website. We just had it completely overhauled and redesigned, and we took all of our brands and we actually put them into one website. Granted, we're going to point all of our URLs that way. But I find that having it all in one spot makes it easier for me to work with customers. That's the main one to get to me on.
Okay. And then for email for you, it would be, is it Rob at
robpetersentertainment.com.
Okay, cool. All right, so now the hook. Let's. You have a bubble machine or a bubble party. I started to say bubble machine. You have a bubble party website, and that is
bubbleparties.com.
Okay.
And on that website, a couple of different things can happen. That's a multi-purpose site. So it is a site where the public can go and seek out a local provider that subscribes to our program. And we have a directory up there. We talk about what a bubble party is. We have a demo video up there. But we also have a section for DJs. And this was, as I said, John made this a business plan, and one of his wishes was for me to carry it on, and I consider it a tribute to what he started for me to be able to do what we do. We built a business program over it, and you can find out information on the business program on the website and all the costs, and there's a free special report I put together. When I talk about profitability, Ron, and again, I have the numbers to back it up, so I don't want to consider this bragging. In 2018, because I didn't finalize my 2019 numbers yet, we did over $30,000 in just bubble parties.
Holy moly.
And again, you're talking to somebody who at that time was 12 years in, and I've built my business around that. We teach you everything you need to get started. We go through an in-depth marketing program. I do coaching calls once or twice a month with everybody up until we get busy. And then as I tell the provider, we give you a website with all of the pictures have been backgrounded and everything. We actually run a background check on everybody in our program to make sure that we do have the real deal. And again, I do sit with people and I do talk to them about, hey, look, you have to know that you're going to make money at this, but the only way you're really going to make money is you have to be patient with kids.
Right.
And I maybe run into one person a year who comes at it from the financial perspective, and I'm like, you're not going to survive. And they don't. But we also have some pretty cool benefits that we offer. We try to keep it so that it's, we can make the rock star in each particular market. So we built our program based on that. And
you may wind up with a fan base that follows you around grocery store, telling everybody what you're buying. I mean, you never know. I mean, that could happen. So in order to find out information for the bubble party, would it be better for them to contact you through that website or to contact you through Robert?
Contact me through that website because I want them to look and make sure this is going to be a good fit before they ask for more information. They can email me if you're like, yeah, I'm already sold, I've heard about the program, because we do have about 28 different providers right now around the United States, which in a lot of major markets. And if you're comfortable with that, that's great. But I want you to go on and check it out. You can check the free special report out. You can see what some of our other providers have said, and then you fill out a contact form, and then I take it from there.
Okay, cool.
And that website is bubbleparties.com, IES at the end.
Bubbleparties.com. So this has been a great time, and as I said, we gotta get back together.
I always enjoy talking with you because, and I got to say this before we wrap up because I'm going to give you props.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and I'm giving you these props because I watched you on stage a few years ago. Now we're kind of both Disney geeks. We've established that years ago, and you said something very profound on stage one day. And it's what I've done with Bubbles and everything else. And that is when you look at the people who attend or go to Disney this year, I think at the time you had said the stat was about 80%.
70% return. Yeah.
70%. All right, 70%. 70% of those people are going to go back next year. And I thought, how cool would it be to be focusing on services and stuff for my client base or the client base I'm building, where 70% of those people are going to come back to me next year and book. It's so ideal. So you taught me that. So I want to thank you. I want to go on record as saying thank you for sharing that statistic because you got the wheels turning. And that's what we're doing here in Boston. And it's been a lot of fun.
Awesome. Good for you, Rob. So again, thank you so much for those of you that have been watching. Thank you for being here. I plan on being back at the end of next month with another installment of Ron Ruth Presents. Until then, see you all later. Thanks.
Take care.